Hi folks, and welcome back to another Travels of Red Rover. I'm Shawn.
And I'm Corinne.
And where are we today, Corinne?
We are in the Painted Hills.
Yay!
Part of the John Day Fossil Beds National Monument near Mitchell, Oregon.
And we are here for our second time. In a previous video, which I'll put the link probably down there, we were here during or just after some major fires just to the west of us, and we were pretty much smoked out. So although we did manage to get one nice panorama, we really didn't spend much time here because it was getting hard to breathe.
So we are here earlier in the season. The wildfire season hasn't quite started up. There's a few prescribed burns in the area that the National Forest Service is doing, but they're much further west.
So the air quality is a whole lot better. It's been very windy here, but otherwise we're getting some beautiful light, some beautiful white puffy clouds, and I think we're going to have a great time.
Corinne and I have come out to the Painted Cove. It's a mostly boardwalked little hike. It's about a quarter mile long, and it takes you through these beautiful red volcanic mounds. It's a lovely walk, especially if you only have a few minutes. There's Corinne going off to do a little photography. As Corinne likes to point out, they're red and green. I think the first one I pointed to was actually green. It's a gorgeous morning, and it's relatively quiet here. Corinne's setting up her shot back there. So this material is a volcanic lava flow that is heavily mineralized, and the minerals over years have become oxidized and turned various colors. I understand that they're very, very heavy in a variety of minerals, but mostly magnesium. And the magnesium has a variety of colors, but also when it gets very heavily oxidized, turns black. Well, I'm breathing hard because I just walked up the little hill to the top here. Absolutely gorgeous morning. The wind hasn't gotten started yet, which makes it really nice up here. Once you get off the boardwalk, the path turns to a bit of a gravel path and winds down the backside of the lava flow. We arrived on a particularly beautiful day. Sun is shining, got lots of white puffy clouds. The only issue is that we're likely to have quite a windstorm a little later on in the day. So trying to get out and get as much done as we can this morning early before the wind really starts getting going. So Corinne, what are you trying to achieve this morning?
Well, this morning I'd like to take a picture showing the boardwalk weaving through the colored hills.
And that's the shot she's working on.
Hi folks, we're back in the Painted Hills. I'm standing up on the Overlook Trail, and as you can see behind me, there's just an absolutely gorgeous scene. And as you all can see, I've also got my camera in my hand here. It's blowing anywhere from 15 to about 25 knots up here, so it's very hard to hold a camera on a tripod and not have it get really, really shaky in this wind. So I'm just going to do some handheld shots. We have a beautiful sky up behind me with clouds, and then this beautiful scene behind me with a nice leading line going through it, and the red slash on the hill behind me. So added my polarizer to the camera to bring up the colors. I'm still shooting aperture priority, but I've increased my ISO to 200 so that I can shoot a little faster. I've also put my stabilizer mode on, and I'm using an automatic focus because it's very difficult for me to get the focus right in a handheld situation. So I'm doing those two things a little different, and just trying different scenes along this little ridge here to see if I can get that nice line all the way through the photograph and add in some nice big white puffy clouds. The clouds are moving very, very fast, so the valley's going in and out of light, and I'm essentially waiting until the valley's brightly lit each time, and then also waiting to see if I can get some, every once in a while the clouds get quite dark and forbidding up above me, and I'm kind of taking those shots, and then also waiting to get some nice big white puffy cloud shots.
One of the other things that I'm doing that I forgot to mention in the first clip here is that I'm exposing the shot a little bit. The clouds are very, very bright, and I want to maintain that definition in the clouds. And I'm just underexposing everything just a touch, maybe actually exposing them for the clouds. And then I'll bring up the shadows in the valley here later on in post-production. Come back out. It's about an hour and a half before sunset, but the light right now filtering through the clouds is absolutely gorgeous, so we're taking advantage of that and doing some pre-golden hour shooting, and just really loving the shots. As you can see, I've got my tripod set up, the camera on the tripod. I'm actually using an evergreen tree, which is directly in front of me here, and I'll show you in a second. To block the wind a little bit, which is making this a lot easier to do. So there's my evergreen tree, and if I pan this way slowly, you see that the sun is back up over there. So I've got a little bit of a shadow in front of me. In fact, most of the shooting is going to be done here for lit hills in the next half hour to 45 minutes. Because the sun's going down behind a big hill over there, actually over there, and once it goes down, all of this will be in shadow, and at that point we'll be waiting to see if the clouds light up. So I'm filming a very simple scene right now. I'm using the island that's way down right there in the middle of that little gravel bed as my focal point in the center of the shot, and then using the hills on either side to frame it. What I particularly like is the red slash that goes around these hills here that gives the whole thing a feeling like you're a little bit on the moon. One of the things to really watch for when you're shooting a scene like this is when shadows start creeping into the scene. So the island I was using down there in the little gravel bed is now being partially covered with a shadow, and is no longer really a really great image. So I've switched, and I'm actually shooting just the top of the big peak there that's still lit, and over into the quarry area in the background. So the shot has a mixture of color on both sides, and then it has sort of the darker green grays in the background, and then just a hint of sky to go with it. And I'll just show you right now with what I'm shooting. So Mary and Corinne are also set up to shoot tonight. Mary's got the big monster lens on and is shooting mostly patterns, and Corinne's also put on the monster lens to shoot patterns down in the Painted Hills.
So they're getting mostly pattern shots, and they're using the softer light to bring out the colors in the hills down below us.
Well, we've come out for a morning shoot at the Painted Hills, and I have to say that this is a spot where it's easy to find a composition in the morning or the afternoon or the early evening, and you'll find something that suits you with the sun on the right angle. We're almost too bright now. The shadows are getting pretty harsh, but we've been working at the lower part of the road for a few minutes and shooting out to the southwest. So the sun is a little more to the east and our shots are to the southwest. So we're getting a combination of a little bit of shadow, but also some nice light on the hill. I'm actually shooting toward the Overlook Trail and getting the layers of the hillsides. There's also some nice wildflowers in the foreground, so I'm hoping those will show up nicely too. Nothing very exotic with my settings. It's f/16 ISO 100, and I'm using aperture priority to let the shutter adjust to the conditions. This is the angle of my shot, and I've selected this because I like the way the hills are rolling back there and increasing in height, and there's nice clouds. There's also some interesting color combinations with the red and slightly green tinged hills. Seems like the hills are a little more green this year than when we last came, and I'm wondering if that's maybe a factor of moisture from the winter has allowed some algae or lichen to grow in the mineral piles.
Are back at the same spot that we were last year in August when we got smoked out. Now, the evening that we shot, the skies were just absolutely terrible and the panorama came out just horrible. We came back the next morning at about the same time as we are, or at the same time of the day as we are here now, to shoot another panorama. Now, the morning panorama came out okay, but it's fairly naked. It's just the lava flows, no clouds, nothing to make it interesting. Today we're back out here again, and today we have a tremendous advantages, or several tremendous advantages. Advantage number one is there's these beautiful yellow flowers that are in very tight groups growing up the sides of the lava flows and the indents of the lava flows. And the second thing is we have absolutely gorgeous white puffy clouds to shoot as well. Corinne and I shot this panel last year, as I just said, and today the opportunity to shoot the panel is just absolutely gorgeous, but it's very, very difficult. The skies with the clouds and the sun reflecting off the clouds makes them extremely bright. In fact, they're about 5 stops brighter than the hills, and the hills are quite dark. They're very colored, but quite dark. So I'm having to use some ND filters, some split neutral density ND filters. These are all soft edge filters to lower the sky brightness enough so that we can get enough detail in the hills. The other way to do this would be to shoot multiple exposures for each shot of the panorama and then put them all together, all the multiple exposures together first, and then put them together into a panorama. This way I can take the shot and then use it directly into the panorama. So I'm having to balance the sky, and the other thing I'm having to do is to make sure that I'm catching enough of the edge on the bottom of the hills, so that if I've got a little bit of unbalance in the leveling of the camera, I have a way of not losing the entire bottom of the hills. So it's been a bit more of a challenging shot this morning, but definitely worth it with these conditions. So Corinne, tell us about the Painted Hills. Do you enjoy being out here?
This is a more challenging subject for me because it's all about curves and colors and patterns, and it's not something that I find easy to compose, so it's a much greater challenge for me. I think I enjoy other forms of landscape photography a little bit more, some forest trails and mountain vistas, but it's always good to challenge oneself.
One of the little features at the Painted Hills that we really love is this picnic area. It's well shaded, has lovely tables and pit toilets, and makes a great stop either going in or coming out of the Painted Hills. Hi folks. Well, it's the next day, and we just wanted to say that we had a great time here at the Painted Hills this time. We sure hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please give us a thumbs up.
And if you'd like to see more of our videos, I hope you'll consider subscribing.
And as always, if you want to know when we release videos, hit that little bell symbol down below.
And feel free to leave us some comments or questions. We love to hear from you.
Again, until next time, bye for now.
Bye for now.